Jenny Blake, how did you find your thing?
I found my thing. I use this analogy that it's like revamping your wardrobe. I had started working at a startup company out of school, and little by little, it's like cleaning out your closet, where I looked at the things that I was doing in my day-to-day job, what I really enjoyed and how I could do more of it, and what I was not so happy with and how I could get rid of it or offload that or move into something else. And that kind of took me along this path of working at a startup company, doing online advertising, managing our websites, managing the office, into Google, where I started delivering AdWords product training, realized I loved working with people, but I was sick of talking about AdWords.
Right.
And I eventually found coaching. And then from coaching, it led me to my two parallel lives of eventually making it onto the career development team at Google, and also starting my own blog, which was truly where I really get to express myself and explore what I'm most passionate about. And that blog has since led to the book, Life After College, the complete guide to getting what you want.
You know, we can see what your thing is. Like, this is where you are really lit up. So you're in this, illustrious university, and you're sort of part with your studies and doing very well because you're Jenny Blake and you do really well.
Oh.
And so halfway through, this is when you decided to go for the startup, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you and I like to use coachy words like values. So what, just because, it was a zigzag, or it was a zag, I guess, when you could have zigged or whatever, but you went over here. Like, what values were you honoring in that moment for making this pretty bold decision to just wing?
What an amazing question. No one's ever asked me that before. The values that it honored for me were growth. I knew that I had been working with this professor, and when she offered me the job, I knew that the potential for my own personal growth was going to be astronomical, being the first employee at this company, and possibility, and that feeling that I was really going to be challenging myself. Almost too, part of it was like I have a value around independence and with just trusting my gut. And I think a big part of it was I just knew this wasn't it. I would regret saying no, but there wasn't really a scenario in which I could see myself regretting saying yes and just giving it a shot.
So two things are showing up here too. One of them is that probably makes you a hellaciously awesome coach, is that your intuition's really, really, really strong, right? So that's awesome. And second is clearly ease. Like, what I'm loving about this is that there really doesn't seem to be a lot of struggle.
Yeah, and it's like, I think it's just creating the space and then listening for things to happen. And sometimes I listen better than others. And sometimes I have what I refer to as my universe smacks me upside the head moments, where it's like I haven't gotten the signs early enough.
Yeah.
But we all figured out eventually.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so let's not be afraid of walls. Walls create clarity. Like, we get really clear on what we don't want, right?
And one of my favorite quotes is, you have to say no to the good so that you can say yes to the great. Sometimes you're saying no to a good job or a good opportunity. But it's for you as an individual, or for me, it's not great. It's not soul stirring.
I had this conversation fairly recently with somebody, and she was saying, don't say yes to your good ideas. Say yes to your genius ideas.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, baby. There is a question that you and I both know is like the key to everything. And that is, what do I really want? So why is it such a hard question for people to answer? Some of the viewers right now are sort of thinking, like, if I knew what I want, I'd be going for it.
I wouldn't be here.
That's right. So why is it such a hard question? Like, what's wrapped up in what do I want?
In my opinion, there's two things going on. One, that question is like a layer cake. And I love cupcakes, and so I'm just going to go with the cake metaphor. Right. That we can ask, what do I really want? And it's not the first answer or the second or the third. Sometimes it's the 10th time in a row that we've had to ask that we really figure it out. Another, when I'm teaching coaching, I use the metaphor of a tree. And the first time we say, what do I really want? It's the roots. We're getting at the surface. But every time we ask that question again and again, we're getting really deep, deep, deep into the very lowermost roots of the tree. And I think sometimes people give up at the first surface level answers that come up. What do I really want? a good job. Okay, what's important to me about that? Like all these questions that you and I use all the time, but I think people stop too soon and don't give themselves the space. And then I think a second barrier is exactly what we were talking about having to throw things away. Sometimes in order to admit what we really want, there are some scary questions that we don't know how to answer yet about, are we going to disappoint someone, or do we have to let something go? Sometimes I think it's just too scary and we don't want to look under the hood at that moment.
Right. This kind of work, a lot of saboteurs do tend to show up.
Yeah.
And it's, well, like there's a lot of, why haven't you figured this out yet? So lots of judgment, of judgment.
Everyone else has figured it out.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? But like, what other saboteurs do you think show up when people are trying to find their thing? And like, how do we, like, what kind of swords can we give them?
Oh, first of all, I'm so glad that you asked this, because inner critics exist and we all have them. And those of us that beat ourselves up because we have them, we're missing the point that it's like part of the human condition for some odd reason that we have these. And one of the exercises in my book is, I call it the inner critic inventory. I always tell people, when you have this rushing wave of inner critics, first of all, it's a sign that you're on exactly the right track. Yeah. And second, that there's information there. You're too old, you're too young. I think a lot of times when we're answering this specific question, what do I really want, or what am I most passionate about? It's like, well, am I even capable of that? Is that possible? I had a coach tell me, don't get caught up in the tyranny of the hows. We get so worried about how. Well, if I want to be a blogger, how do I set up a blog? And how do I get started? And how do I build an audience? And the noise level there becomes so high that we're paralyzed out of taking action.
Yeah, the inventory. I mean, I think it's really cathartic stuff to have people sort of start to identify and then even personify them a little bit and sort of give them so you really have a sense of, oh, that's Bertha. Bertha. Bring it, Bertha. What do you got to say today, Bertha?
And there's a quote I read somewhere that I love too, that intelligence is about knowing what questions to ask. It's not necessarily having the answers yet. So I love that idea that if we can at least just frame up the questions, what do I really want? What do I most desire? That we are more than halfway there.
Oh, yes, baby. Thank you. Thank you. Jenny, one final, where can people find you?
You can find me. My blog is lifeaftercollege.org. The website for the book is lacbook.com. And I'm on Twitter at Jenny_Blake. And I would love to hear from any and all of you. So thanks so much, Tanya, for having me.